now tuned in to the cold, hard truth. Cayman's #1 hard-hitting live podcast show, where we feature some straightforward conversations on political, social, and celebrity news and all things happening in the Cayman Islands and around the world. This show was created to give the people a voice and a means of being involved and informed without any filters. Sometimes it gets crazy, but we always keep it real. We bring you the tea, piping hot, so grab your favorite beverage and join the conversation via WhatsApp at 324-1612. Email tips at CaymanMarlRoad.com. Now, here's your host, Sandy Hill, broadcasting live from the beautiful Cayman Islands.
Spilling the tea with Sandy.
Cayman's top news headlines of the day from CMR.
Good morning, Sandy. How are you?
Hey, morning. How are you guys doing?
We are good. Oh, I like your shirt today. Polka dots.
Thank you.
Yeah, you look nice. You going somewhere? You got court today?
No, I'm actually going to the chamber luncheon, which is the first one with the new government. So we'll hear from Premier Wayne Panton for the first time at the chamber luncheon.
Ah.
So that's exciting. Yes.
What will you find out there? Anything?
I'm not sure. I think that he will certainly talk about the way forward in terms of the reopening plan and what the government has been working on in terms of that. So I think that, that's one of the big things that everybody's probably looking forward to hearing more about.
Okay.
Do you get to ask him questions or, maybe just
like press conference
say
style?
some stuff? Here's my
To
suggestion.
remember, I don't think so. I'm just trying to recall from previous such events. It's been a while because of COVID and other things with the last government, why there wasn't one of these. But I kind of think no.
Is this
he just does a speech and then, people then.
Is it a boozy event?
Little mingles.
Do you guys drink? I just wanted to
I kind of feel like maybe a glass of wine and fruit punch, but it's not really intended to be.
Okay.
Isn't it a lunch?
Of that going on.
Yeah.
So it should be.
Welcome to Cayman.
So it should be. I'm just
what you got for news headlines for us today?
Well, we're working on a few things. We have a major story that just dropped with someone who has been taken advantage of. Taken advantage in the sense that Workers came here from Honduras, 6 men, who are now in quarantine. And the second they get here in quarantine, their employer, who has their work permit, says, "Oh, I don't need you again." After they just borrowed like $3,000 from family and friends in Honduras to be able to come to the Cayman Islands. So that will be our headliner story this morning. We'll be talking about that, which is kind of a sad situation because now
How do you find out about that?
How do I find out?
Yeah, I'm sure the Honduras guys don't know who Sandy Hill is. I mean,
well,
no
they've probably heard of Cayman Mall Road, even in Honduras.
Maybe.
Yeah, no, we've got eyes and ears everywhere. So,
okay,
we're kind of known to be a little bit of,
guy.
Yes, consumer protection, and people bring us all sorts of issues. You'd really be surprised.
Yeah.
In terms of what we get. So this story came to us last week as it was happening, but sometimes we sit on things for a little bit to kind of wait and see what's going to happen. And these individuals have filed a formal complaint with immigration as well. So it's going to be quite an interesting situation.
Yikes.
Wow.
So, and then regional news, of course, Haiti, that situation still is really, really big news. There are a lot of, comments in terms of what happened there. They've allegedly killed some of the assassins, and they've arrested some others.
Wow.
And it's
like 4 people or something.
Yeah, it's just an unbelievable story. I mean, these guys claimed that they were DEA agents, which has obviously been denied by the US, and I don't think anybody really believes that, but some spoke with an American accent, and there was a Spanish-speaking person as well. So it seems like it was, like a proper organized execution. Yeah,
that's so crazy. That's like stuff you see in a movie.
Yes.
Wow.
Very much so. So,
Sandy, you're like the Better Business Bureau of the Cayman Islands.
You know what? You're just onto something here, because many, many years ago, I had the exact same idea. I'm like, we need one here.
Mm-hmm.
And I did so much research trying to see how we can go about getting one here, but apparently they don't really have them at the international level. And so they couldn't even wrap their minds around the concept of, can we partner with, the Better Business Bureau of America, or whatever, about having one here.
Right.
So we do what we can in terms of consumer protection. I think the biggest thing, yesterday we featured another contractor on our program who had taken $160,000 from a lady and hadn't built her house.
And what was the story behind that? Like, really quick.
So she sends him 80 grand. He claims he didn't get it. She wires another 80 grand. 2 weeks later, he says, "Oh yeah, I got both, but that's fine, because you'll soon have to send me more money." And basically, he just never delivered. He never built her house. He didn't even build the foundation. And he just used her money for other stuff. And so the police have arrested him. He's due to appear before them in a couple days for an actual interview.
Was he even a contractor, or what was the reason why he didn't build the house? Don't know.
He just didn't do it. He spent the money on other things, apparently. Workers are saying that they didn't get paid. And then the ironic thing is, he shut the company down. He told her that, he's liquidated the company, so he can't pay her anyway. And then he's working for another major contractor. Well, yesterday morning during our show, as we were discussing the situation, that other major contractor canceled. I mean, big, like, DART project is what he was working on, right? So this is a big deal. They canceled his contract. They're like, no, we don't want any affiliation with anyone who could do this.
Yeah. Wow.
So he's no longer employed with them. But yeah.
Better Business Bureau.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, we may not have it officially, but we get the Mall Road Business Bureau.
That's right. Well, Sandy's going to start a show right now on CMR, so check that out. And we'll see you tomorrow, Sandy. It'll be
Awesome.
Friday.
Yeah.
Yes, I got to think in advance of my Friday, my throwback song.
You better come with the song tomorrow.
All right. I'm ready.
All right. We'll see you tomorrow.
Have a good one, guys.
You too.
All right, folks. Give me 1 second here. I'm going to kick them out of the studio. And then I'm just putting up the story here. We're going to be talking about in a second. So yeah, folks, we have very little options in terms of consumer protection on this island. And it's unfortunate because I think we need proper consumer protection. We need, agencies that can look after people. I mean, some of the horror stories I hear from renters, both commercial and business, employees, employers, it runs the gamut, unfortunately. And because we have absolutely nothing in place, there's nothing for price gouging, there's nothing for any of these things. It's just very, very difficult for people to know what to do. So I sympathize with people who call me because I think they believe that, I can assist them. And I certainly do my best. And there are a lot of times when we actually get a resolution. So yesterday, I was just saying to Blake and Aaron, the show that we had yesterday about this guy, Frank, the contractor from, what was the name of his company? Titan Development Limited. All clear indications are that he really did this woman wrong. Now, obviously, he's been arrested. He's not yet been charged. And as you guys know, you are innocent until the prosecution can prove their case. Having said that, the basic facts of what transpired appear to be that this man took $160,000 and really produced what they say is maybe $12,000 worth of work. Like he bought a couple blocks and did the outlay of the house, and that was it. And the rest of this woman's money has literally disappeared. So that's just not cool. That's not how people expect things to operate here in the Cayman Islands. But again, we have little to no enforcement, little to no law to even enforce as it relates to these types of things. And the most ironic thing is after we put the story up, there were so many people reaching out who were like, oh, I've got a rogue contractor story as well. And I'm just like, what? How many of these people are there? Well, as it turns out, there's way more than there should be. And I think that a lot of times, absolutely nothing is being done about it. So a lot of people are super, super frustrated. And it's not just, we say, yes, do all the things that you should do as a consumer. So definitely do your due diligence, ensure that you are checking these guys out, put some feelers out there. My glasses have smudges all over them. Put your feelers out there, get recommendations. And it seems to me that for every bad contractor that's out there, you actually have someone who is able to give them a positive recommendation. So they've done right by at least one person, and that one person can say, oh yeah, I know that person and they built my house or they did my renovation and I haven't had any issues with them. Well, it looks like, unfortunately, that just isn't enough. And it's sad. What are consumers supposed to do exactly? This is where I don't know really what to suggest. Because unfortunately, this is the predicament that people are finding themselves in. You give people money and they're not building your house. One person mentioned yesterday that they had agreed on a specific price point. And then that individual, the contractor, came back and said, well, you know what? I'm going to charge you more. No logical explanation for why. I'm just going to charge you more. Listen, if the project is right now, we know that the cost of everything is going up. So you can justify that and you can prove that to the client, then that's certainly one thing. But when you just pump up and you're like, oh no, I don't even have a reason why your stuff is going to be going up. It just is. And in lieu of an explanation, any consumer is going to be like, how exactly does this work? And another person said that they had a guy, I think they posted this comment on Facebook, is that they had a guy who who actually was carrying out some renovations for them, retiling, all sorts of stuff. And what he would do, listen to this scammer, is he would actually go in to the project, measure the floor. So say it's, I don't know, an 18 by 20 room, and that takes whatever amount of tiles, right? He would actually go in and order more tiles than were needed for the project, so that he would have some left over, I guess, for another project. And that's theft as well, just in case you're wondering what that is. And yeah, so that was the sort of thing where, once again, the consumer only found out by chance because something happened and she needed to go in and just double check and verify something about the order. And when she's speaking to like the tile place, they said, well, for that size room, you'd only need this amount of tiles, because they know based on the size of the room and the trim and whatever. And then they always give you a little bit of overage in case, a tile breaks or there are any sort of issues. Well, this scammer, this contractor, was basically doubling up on the order and making this particular client pay for it. And then I'm assuming he was actually using that material for another job. Yep. Making one consumer pay double the price for everything. And so when she started to get wind of what he was doing, she said, hold on a second here. Let me see all of my invoices. So he was producing invoices. Some of them were not real invoices, or some of them were real invoices, but they were just for double everything for her. Because I guess he probably had another job that he was working on at the same time, and he was using the same material on that job, but he had one client paying for it, so that then he could double up on the profit on the second job, or maybe it was a personal job. I don't really know what it was. So road contractors are everywhere. Good morning, good morning, good morning, everyone. Big shout out to our Instagram crowd. I've just started the live link of our Instagram. We have Drippy, Chris Turner joining us, Mark Cummings, Denningston, Bew, David. Unfortunately, some of your names are just letters and stuff, but Philip, Shireen is here, KY Nico, Devon or Devon. On YouTube and Facebook this morning, we've got 242 people. Karen is logged in. Siobhan is here. Siobhan, where have you been? I've missed you. Morna, Brandon is here. Brandon's like your cup of tea. He's here on time every morning. We've got Marshall, good morning, joining us from Detroit. Leroy, thank you for tuning in. Allie is here. Miss Ethel, I think I have a prize from last week that I need to get to you. So let's try to get that sorted out. Today is a really busy day. We do have the chamber luncheon, by the way, folks. Make sure you tune in to CMR for that. We will have that live, bringing you the chamber business luncheon, which is basically the first time that the government will be able to address the people, the business people, the business community at the chamber luncheon. So make sure that you tune in for that event. We will be hearing from none other than Premier Wayne Panton. So this is a chamber legislative luncheon. I wonder, should they be changing it from legislative to chamber parliamentary luncheon now that it's called Parliament? Maybe. So that's happening today. It's 12 o'clock. CMR will be there. Dominique, good morning. Larry's joining us from New York. Good morning to you. New York, thunderstorms and later a high of 86. So obviously, folks, summer is here. Rita, good morning. Debbie says, good morning, beautiful people. It's a beautiful day. I'm looking for my phone. Oh, I have to keep it close by so I can check any breaking news alerts. Elizabeth, buenos dias. Jean is here, says, good morning, CMR. I saw a guy driving a school bus this morning, talking on his phone, and he was drinking Oh, sorry. Driving a Whitaker bus by Foster's near the airport. Well, if anyone is listening that has connections to Whitaker's bus service, please let him know that his driver, who was in the vicinity of Foster's airport location, was actually talking on the phone and driving at the same time, which is, unless it's hands-free, is actually against the law. You're not supposed to do that. Especially with a busload of kids, you would think that that would not be a good idea. Sherry Ann, good morning. Damien is here. Miss Evelyn, of course, has it locked in. Big Boy Dixon says, good morning, guys. Good morning to you. Miss Vernita is here. She says, good morning, CMR in the world. So, quick question that came in from Miss Vernita this morning. Those of you who use YouTube to view the show, this might be a good time to sort of address this. Great idea, because you can pull it up. A lot of you have smart TVs or you have the smart boxes and so forth. And you can log in and watch it on the big screen, right? You can watch the show on the big screen. But you want to comment from YouTube. In order to comment from YouTube, you actually need to be logged in to YouTube. So if you've never done that before, all you need basically is a Gmail account. So you'd have to create a Gmail account if you do not have one. Then you log into YouTube with your Gmail credentials, your email address and password. And then it keeps you logged into YouTube. And you can actually do things like create a favorites list. You can create playlists, everything within YouTube. So it saves all of your information. And you are then allowed to comment on different live streams and stuff like that, or any videos that you come across, really. Tommy is joining us in the Bahamas. Thank you so much. Dawn is here. Alice has got it locked in. Jasara. Lily is also here. Sherilyn, good morning. Carol. So I'm curious to know how many of you have crazy contractor stories. Richie, Jackie, Stephen King says we need protection from CUC. Oh my God. I've already started receiving the typical, I hate to say typical, but every single summer, Catherine, Selena, you guys know the drill. As we hit June, the summer bills start to roll in. July, it's getting hotter, and everyone starts complaining about CUC. It's like, for me, it is a little bit of deja vu, because I'm like, didn't we have this issue last summer and the summer before and the summer? Last year might have been even worse because everybody was home. So Tiki, Madison, Len, good morning. Len is joining us from Canada, so good to see you. Mark is also on Instagram. Clocky's Food Line. Hey, Clocky's Food Line. Thank you. Says good morning, everybody. Queen Gotti, thanks for tuning in. Derek is here. Sharon says, this is all he really did. The property is right across from mine. That's sad. I mean, for $160,000, he did not even finish the foundation of this house. Good morning, Felicia. Good morning, John. John makes a suggestion that the bank needs to deploy quality assurance inspectors. I kind of got the feeling that this lady didn't actually go through the bank. Like, she had legit just really saved her money, worked really, really hard and saved her money, which is even more egregious. Not that it's any less egregious because it's the bank's money, because hello, you're still borrowing it from the bank and they still want their coins paid, right? But when it's like your money and you don't even have the backing of the bank, it is really, really hard. That's a tough pill to swallow, that money is now gone. And the chances of recovering it are probably very, very slim. You can sue him, but if the dude has no money, if he's so bad with financial management and he's spent that money, just like his staff now will never get paid, they're going to be chasing him. I understand, by the way, stick a pin in that part of the story, that some of his workers are on standby, refusing to assist the police. Hear this BS. Refusing to assist the police in hopes that if they don't, he's going to somehow pay them. What's wrong with y'all? I mean, really? Francisco says, when was the last immigration task force when went to job sites to check out if the company was holding a permit for the worker? A lot of companies don't hold their work permits. Well, we're going to talk about that here in a second, Francisco, because apparently not only they're not holding their work permits, but some of these companies are doing all sorts of other things to their workers. Olivia, good morning. Diamond Princess is here. She says, terrific Thursday morning to y'all. Yes, girl, let's get it. Francisco says it goes both ways. A lot of times the customer doesn't pay their bill either. Jonathan wonders if he's building his own house. I don't know, but he can afford to take ski trips or send his kids on ski trips. Louisa, good morning. And they're off in university in the UK. So to me, just looking at the surface, money's flowing from somewhere into his personal life. And meanwhile, clients are paying him to do a job that doesn't get done. Now, Francisco, when it comes to non-payment, contractors do not go without their money. Trust me. They're not going to lift a finger. They're not going to buy 1 ounce of material unless you paid them. So contractors want their money up front. And unfortunately, that's the nature of that business, why there's a certain amount of risk that is involved in it from the consumer's perspective. So here we are in the Cayman Islands. No Better Business Bureau to protect people. No real consumer legislation. There was this price gouging legislation after Ivan that the government of the day had put into place. And to be honest, on now, we've never seen that tested, implemented. I don't even know if it was really passed. Like nobody seems to know anything about it. Renters. We're going to be talking with a renter hopefully tomorrow morning who's had her landlord, listen to this story, give her a month's notice to vacate the property, which they can, anybody can give you their notice, and then immediately turns off the power. She is a young child. She's a baby that is burning up. No AC. Here we are complaining about CUC bills, but at least we got AC to stay cool. This baby has no AC. The food in the fridge has spoiled. She's getting nowhere with NAU. She's trying to find another place. And it's just the most unreasonable story that I've heard as it relates to landlord and tenants in a really long time. So we're going to talk about that one tomorrow. I'm like, what the heck is going on with people? Gladys joining us from beautiful Rotan. Marshall says it's raining in North Carolina. Elsa's on her way to central North Carolina. Yikes. Good morning, Judy and Charm. Miss Sue's here. Emma, good morning. Did you guys hear that yesterday the power was out in Honduras? We carried that story. It affected 4 different Central American countries. Honduras, where is it? Honduras, Nicaragua, Guatemala, and what was the other one? Not Panama. One story said Panama, but I don't think Panama was actually impacted by it. So there's apparently these Central American countries have a common grid system. And this power failure, which they think might have been due to heavy rains and a tree falling on one of the lines or something. So it was out in El Salvador, Guatemala, Nicaragua, and Honduras from 1 o'clock or so in the afternoon. And I think Honduras finally got stuff back around 8 o'clock or so last night. So Emma, good morning. Janetta's here. Dion is here. Sherry Ann is joining us. Thank you. Teddy says a whole lot more foreigners taking jobs away from Caymanians. Yo, get your priorities straight. When these people bleed the country dry, they're out. Go back to their country with the loot, and you sold out. Well, and you wonder why this video had all thumbs up and no thumbs down. The video being which one exactly? The one of a contractor? Which video are we referring to? So listen, let's talk about what's making headlines this morning. Good morning, Anne. We've got a contractor. He's no stranger to, I think, a lot of us. He's actually the former premier's brother-in-law, Cliff Groves. I think most of us know Cliff. He's been in the construction business, I feel like, for a while. I've always known him to be a nice guy. I don't know him personally in terms of, we're not friends and I've never had him build anything for me. But here he is. And so we have voice notes and a whole lot of voice notes and information about Cliff doing a number of things that are actually illegal. So we're going to break that down here this morning. Hey, Kenny, joining us on Instagram. Brian is logged in. Eric, Anita. So apparently, the gist of the story with Cliff is this. He hires some guys from Honduras to work for him, carpenters. And I guess there's a lot of negotiations back and forth. I understand that his, thank you, Sanya. She says she loves the top. I think his wife might be from Honduras. And so maybe she had some connections there with getting labor. I don't really know. Anyway, he goes about getting these guys to come and work for him. 6 guys. They agree on how this is going to work. Obviously, with COVID, our borders are still closed, by the way. So, still repatriation flights, but people are able to come in if you can justify a work permit for those individuals. So he puts in work permits, he gets the work permits approved, and then there's a lot of back and forth about their accommodation. So it looks like the guys just never had the money, which is like $3,000. I understand it's like $3,600 US, but they just never had the money to pay for the accommodations. So remember now, if you're coming into the Cayman Islands and you're going into quarantine, you have got to stay at a pre-approved quarantine facility. So the government has to prove that. Travel time or Travel Cayman or whatever they're going by these days, they have to approve that. And, you have to get in contact with them. There's a whole separate process now that's required. But the government has said from day one that the employer is responsible for the payment of the quarantine facility. Not the employee, not the worker that's coming in. It's the person who's doing the hiring. So just like you're supposed to be responsible for the work permit fees and those sorts of things, you're also required to pay for the quarantine. Well, that's the rules. That's the law. You should not be forcing people to come in and pay for their own accommodations. Well, guess what? These guys had to raise the money, over $3,000 US, to pay for their accommodations. Now imagine you're coming from Honduras, you're already in a situation where you're not really financially making any money. That's why you're coming here to work, right? And on top of that, you have to borrow money from friends and family. And that's exactly what happened with these guys. They had to borrow money. And you get here, and there was a lot of negotiations. I'm going to play the video here in a second, the audio notes so you can hear. It was a series of audio notes that we put together into singular audio to kind of make sense. But yeah, you have, this individual saying, come and work for me. They said, okay, we had to borrow the money. We don't have any more money. We can't pay a deposit on this place. So the contractor, Mr. Groves here, said, I'll pay for the $2,500 or whatever it was going to be for the deposit. But then I need these guys to pay me that back, which I thought was kind of interesting because obviously he wasn't paying for the accommodations, which the quarantine part of it was his responsibility. So even if they said, okay, the rent in this facility is, $2,500, $3,000 CI a month. Of that, 2 weeks, you're going to be paying for quarantine. So I'll pay the $1,500 a quarantine period. That's what the law says you're supposed to do. Somebody said his wife is Cuban. Okay. So that never happened. He squabbles a little bit about the fact that, he has concerns about paying this deposit because then if they turn around and leave the property, he doesn't get his deposit back. And I listened quite intently to his comments in relation to that because he does go over it over and over again about his concerns that the guys won't stay at the location. First of all, you don't have to stay you can rent a house and then change your mind about the property. Normally, the contract you sign says that you just have to give a month's notice. And as long as you give a month's notice, then you should be fine. That's the contract. So it's not like, you're going to, on a whim, decide not to stay. In those circumstances where you breach your contract, then yes, you forfeit any deposit that would have been paid. But he kind of hyper focuses on that, which is quite interesting. The other thing that he does that is also very, very interesting is in a voice note, the dude says, your work permit says carpenter helper. You are to ignore what the work permit says. You're not a carpenter helper. I have essentially just lied to immigration, and this is quite a serious offense, actually. I have just lied to immigration to get a cheaper work permit. Cliff, what were you thinking? I mean, that is a serious immigration offense. You can't lie to immigration. You're stealing from government to say, oh, they're going to be carpenter's assistants or carpenter's helpers, when in fact they're carpenters and you're paying them as carpenters. And this is what he says. I'm going to pay you guys as carpenters. Don't worry about it. Ignore that part of the work permit. That's just to save me money because I'm already having to fork out $4,000 on your work permits. Here's the thing. If you cannot afford workers, and trust me, as a small business owner, I get it. The cost of having people employed with you, pension, insurance, salaries, work permit fees, if you can't afford to pay it, then you simply don't get the workers. There's that option. You scale back on how many workers you got. When you bid on a job, folks, I don't know how much contractors know about running a business, but when they bid on a job, you have to make sure that you are bidding, especially as a subcontractor, enough to pay all of the bills. Flashpoint says there needs to be a rating system for contractors. Those with a poor rating that can be independently verified should get their business license suspended. Wouldn't that be awesome? But nobody's going to do that. No consumer protection, Alba. Buenos dias. So yeah, no consumer protection. Government isn't, doing any of that stuff. Oh, Cliff is here. Good morning, Cliff. He's in the conversation. So Cliff says his side of the story is, I canceled the work permit 4 days prior to their departure date. And I received information from persons who are in Honduras saying that these guys are not the kind of people who you want coming to Cayman. Cliff, do you want to come on the show? Because I appreciate you coming on and having this conversation. Let me put the link in here if you want to join us. 1 second. You can click on this link because I have a couple of questions about that. If that's the story that you're going to go with, right? Because these guys have said that isn't what happened, that they arrived in Cayman to then discover upon arrival and upon calling you that you said to them, you lost the contract with Davenport and you no longer needed their services, basically leaving them stranded in Cayman, which is not a cool position to be in. So if you say now that these guys are not the caliber of individuals that you wanted to come into Cayman, my first question is, why did you know that only 4 days before someone is traveling? Is this not the level of due diligence that you carry out before you even hire someone? You go through the process of hiring people, taking out work permits, and then you turn around and say, oh yeah, they're not the type of people that I want. That seems a little like putting the cart before the horse. So he says, I have the cancellation documents and told them not to come because I'd canceled the work permits. And still they chose to present a no longer valid and came to Cayman illegally. All right. Here's the thing, Cliff. I'm going to put the link here. Join the conversation because, in fact, this is the easiest thing in the world to prove. You like to send voice notes. So I'm assuming that you sent a voice note to them saying, I've decided to cancel your work permits and you're no longer coming. Let's listen to the voice notes, folks, because this is pretty straightforward stuff here. Let me just see. Cliff. So I appreciate your explanation, but I must admit that even for me, the explanation needs some explanation. All right. Okay. So we're going to play the video. Instagram, folks, I'm actually going to put a cap on you're going to just have to listen as best you can. Instagram, sorry. Unfortunately, Instagram doesn't give us the same freedoms that Facebook does and YouTube. But let's listen to what Mr. Groves had to say. And then Cliff, if you're interested in coming on, you simply just click on that link and we'll be more than happy to hear what you have to say.
Yeah, hopefully we can hear something tomorrow. I know we're cutting it close down to the wire here, but we'll get through no matter what. I know that I'm really pushing it hard, pushing it far with Davenport because my job has been shut down all of these weeks because I don't have you guys here. And, they're every Monday morning I have a meeting with them and they ask, every single Monday morning we have a contractors meeting and they always ask the same thing, Cliff, where are you at? Where are you at with you guys? Oh, well, they're coming. Give them a date, give them a reason, try to give them an excuse. All I can do is just try hang in there, trying to persuade them to bear patience with me. So I'm hoping that by some miracle things will work out tomorrow that we get, but I know tomorrow is a public holiday here. So immigration now open here either. Maybe we can hear something on Tuesday. If not, then it's going to be the 1st of July. But I know that they have been approved. That's for sure. All the work permits have been approved. Let the guys know. And again, apologies that everything is taking so long. But, I'm doing the best that I can. God knows. So hang in there and I'll let you know as soon as something comes through. All right, take care. Oscar, just go ahead and get registered with Travel Cayman right away. All right, I'll talk to you later. Listen, Oscar. If I do this, if I take this $2,500, I'm not gonna take it and then me run the risk of me losing $2,500 because from somebody else, because these guys can 1 month later can decide I don't want to stay here anymore and then go somewhere else. They don't lose anything. It's me to lose the $2,500 deposit because of what somebody else decides to do. I don't know these guys. They can change their minds. I never saw them before in my life. I don't know them. I don't know what they're gonna do. If they decide A month later, okay, no, I found somewhere else to go stay. This one find one place to go stay, the next one find the place to go stay. And what happens then? What happens to the $2,500 deposit? To my $2,500? Or not mine. I gotta get it and give it back. Tell you what, this is what would have to happen. If I pay that, I need an agreement with them that they are not going to leave there, that they're going to stay there. One, and I'll get the money back from them, from the work. I'd have to deduct it from the salary. That's the only way I want to do this. If not, then this has all been a waste of time and a huge waste of money. This is what this is coming to. If they don't agree to this, let me know. I will call immigration and I will cancel the permits, and I'll go get my money back. It'll take a while, but I'll if this is what they're gonna do, then look, business is business, and I'm not gonna allow anybody to put me in a bad position, which this already has. I could have gotten guys from someplace else. I could have got people from somewhere else, but I refused to do so. Davenport every single Monday morning. The last 2 weeks, I do not even go to their weekly contractor meetings because I don't have anything else to tell them. Dan called me today and said, what's going on? My guys are scheduled on the July 1st flight. He goes, okay, I hope it's July 1st. Well, if you lose the job, you lose the job. But I'm not gonna lose the job, plus then turn around. I have to borrow this money that does not belong to me to pay for their deposit unless I can get it back. I understand all you're coming with is $2,500, then that means you need to pay the rent immediately. And that's fine, okay. But they have to agree that I will deduct that $2,500 from their salaries, from the 5 of them, over within the first month. Within the first month. That's not much. They'll be making $600 a week, if not more. $600, $700, $800 a week. So each give me $500 back within the first month. If they agree to that, then fine. If not, then that's it. I can't do anymore. I'm stressed as I can be. At every minute, I got people calling me. I got a lady called me today that wants me to go build a house out in Rum Point. I have to turn the job down. I don't have the guys for that. But I'd rather stick with the little bit that I have. So if they agree to that, then that's fine. But they have to agree. This is where they're gonna stay, because if I go sign a 1-year lease and they break it, then they lost their $2,500 deposit, because I gonna get it back within the first month. Yeah, I understand. I understand you don't have any other money other than that. Listen, Oscar, tell the guys, if they're willing to work with me, I'm willing to work with them. They understand, and I'm not going to try to put them in a position where they work and then, every cent that they work for got to go towards paying me back. And I'm saying that wouldn't be the case anyway. There's 5 of them, so that's only $500 each. Within the first month, certainly we can get that. If it's a case where I gonna come and pick you guys up for work every day, drop you guys back, If it's a case where you need a little bit of living expense money for the first week till you get paid, kind of thing. First, with Davenport pays every 2 weeks, so to get you through the first 2 weeks, um, I can lend everybody a little bit of money. Um, but right now, I am stretched really, really thin. There's so much things going on. I got 4 companies, and all 4 of them is demanding everything from me. So there's only so much I can do. Only so much I can do. If they're willing to do this, then fine. I will go ahead and fill out the form and send them the information they require. All right. Yeah, Oscar. But hold on a second now. If these guys are not going to stay there, they're going to leave, because I have to sign a 1-year lease. A 1-year lease and a lease contract, lease agreement. And how that works is that if you leave for within 1 year, it lose the deposit. So, I mean, that's what that is. If you guys are not going to stay there, then I don't know what to tell you. I don't know what you guys going to do, because it's not like how it was before, where you can just fly in and leave the airport and go and stay wherever you want to stay. You can do that after the quarantine time and all of that, but what do you do in the meantime? Where are you guys going to go and stay in the meantime? Because if that's the case, I'm not going to go and put down the money for the deposit if they're going to leave. All right. But anyway, that'll be up to them. If they want to leave, they must understand, if they break their it's a 1-year lease, nobody is going to let people come and stay. Everybody wants a lease agreement. Everybody. I'm planning on having you guys work here over the long term for a minimum of 3 years. Minimum. So that's not the question. The issue is, if you're saying now that they're going to go rent someplace else cheaper, or they're going to go rent somewhere else, they need to understand, if they break their lease, then they do not get their deposit back. Oscar, I was just on the phone with Travel Cayman. You haven't received an email, but I was trying to get him to check on it to make sure that the application has been submitted. You guys have that they've received your application. So what they're saying, to send, they need the number off of, there's a number, a travel reference number off of your application, the Travel Cayman application. I need that number, the reference number, to give them. Morning, Oscar. Just explain to the guys what is written on the bottom of their work permits, to pay no attention to that. Where it says carpenter, helper, occupation or position or occupation, that, for like Waldemir and other guys, there's 4 of them, I believe, were carpenter helpers, and the other 2 were carpenters. Pay no attention to that. They're all carpenters, I know. I did that to try to save a little bit of money on the work permit application. That has nothing to do with the job they're going to do. It has nothing to do with what they're going to get paid. Nothing. Just, I did that to save a little bit of, to help me, because these things cost me $4,000 as it is. So the work permits are not easy to get right now. Anyway, just want to let you know that.
All right, folks. So we have a combination of voice notes there from Cliff. Obviously, he's on Facebook, and he is speaking through Facebook. Cliff, like I said, you can certainly come on the program and explain from your perspective what happened. Listen, we try to be extremely fair on this program, so much so that I have to tell you that we go out of our way to listen to what people are saying and to get as much information as possible. So what we know, Cliff has just said that he canceled their work permit. Let me just go back to your messages here, Cliff. Let me see if I can find them. That you canceled their work permit. I think you said 4 days before they came. Is that right? Let me just see, Cliff. I believe Cliff, I don't want to put words in his mouth, so I'm just trying to find that. Okay, so he said, firstly, I canceled the work permit 4 days prior to their departure date. So their departure date would have been the 1st. That's when they departed and arrived in the Cayman Islands, right? So it's not like they're doing a 2-day trip. Honduras is, less than 2-hour flight. So he says that he canceled the work permit 4 days prior to their departure date, received information from persons who are in Honduras saying that these guys are not the kind of people who you want coming to Cayman. Again, my question there, if that is true, is why would you only know that days before they're coming? Because here's the problem. We now live in a time when people do have to go through travel time. They have to go into mandatory quarantine. There's all these additional requirements. So they can't just come and be like, oh, I've got friends or relatives already here and I'm just going to shack up in their room. There are additional requirements here that now, because of the COVID situation, are in place. So I would think that if you had any reservations or any doubts about any employees, that you certainly clear and check those things out before making the decision for them to come in and be subjected to quarantine. Now, Cliff, in all fairness to you, again, we are here for the truth, and I'm inviting you onto the program. Stephanie has said, how can they come into the island without having a valid work permit? Marjorie, joining us from Nicaragua, buenos dias. Normally, this would be a correct position, but I have just been informed, Miranda. Listen to this. I have just been informed that, in fact, Cliff is sort of telling the truth. Not 100%, because he didn't do it in the time frame that he said. So it wasn't 4 days before. Now, isn't this what you love about CMR? We got ears and eyes everywhere. And we have connections everywhere as well. So my sources have said that he canceled the work permit on the 28th, and they came up on July the 1st. So hold on now. Let me go back. So the 28th was Monday. I don't know exactly what time on Monday. Tuesday, Wednesday, and then they came up on the 3rd. That's not quite 4 days, Cliff. If you're counting full days, that's like 2 full days, because you can't count the day of travel. So the 1st is out. If you went in on the 28th, which was the Monday, and you did that, really, we're talking about the 29th and the 30th. But let me ask you a question, Cliff, and this is, again, for you to answer. Why would you, and this is just a question, did you actually inform, because like I said, it's obvious you love to send them instructions and voice notes and whatever. Did you actually inform them prior to their arrival on island that you had canceled their work permit? And if so, send us the voice note, because I'm sure the voice note exists. A lot of people are asking why you're not hiring Caymanians. Well, that's a different question. Now, listen to this, folks. Again, this is where the system sometimes facilitates putting people in a predicament. So my sources have shared that Cliff is actually correct in that he canceled the work permit before their arrival, albeit somewhat at the last minute. Whether he communicated whether he communicated that information to them or not, we don't have any proof of. So that's what we're asking. Cliff, if you have that proof, then send it. Because then we would ask them, why did you bother coming into the Cayman Islands? We get that you already had borrowed the money and all these other things. But at the end of the day, it appears that the systems are not speaking to each other. What do I mean by this? The immigration system and the travel time system, there's no integration. So immigration and CBC, I'm understanding, oh my God, this is a hot mess. So Works and CBC have some sort of synergy connection and do not work together. The other system, which he has to go through for work permits and CBC and Travel Cayman, are used for everything else. So Travel Cayman approved them to come from the 15th of the month. And that's what I guess is being looked at by CBC. Like I'm not really clear which system isn't speaking to which system. But sadly, there is a disconnect between systems. So this is what happens. Government puts processes in place, right? So they say travel time has to approve people to come in. They have their protocol, their checklist, blah, blah, blah. Then they don't look at the back end of how this works. They do not look at the back end of what systems does CBC use to verify that someone has a valid work permit? What work is updating it? Is that information then disseminated to Travel Cayman, whatever system they're looking at and utilizing? Is it disseminated to CBC? Well, apparently something is wrong here, and the systems are not speaking to each other, and that is a very unfortunate situation. So technically, on that point, Cliff is telling the truth, that he did cancel their work permit before the day of arrival, albeit 2 days before. So did they actually get a notification of that? That's my only question. So I'm asking sources here. They're claiming that they only knew about it when they arrived on island, and they called him to check in to say, okay, we're here, we're in quarantine, we're all settled in, et cetera, et cetera. And then it was at that point that they were told by him that their work permit had been canceled. So all I can tell you is the system is also broken in more ways than one. So the entry system into this country evidently isn't working. You cannot have a valid permit and still be able to come in. Wow. Jesus, come and have government fix it. So the other problem, obviously, is that Cliff has hung himself a little bit with those voice notes, and that he has what's the word that I'm looking for? He has deceived government in relation to the work permit fees. That's an offense under the immigration law. And it's an offense that is considered, in my opinion, from what I've heard about these types of offenses, to be quite serious. So essentially, he has said, I have lied to immigration about what you'll be doing on the job, but I still intend to pay you for one thing, but I'm paying a separate immigration fee. What a mess. Natasha says Jimmy Powell trained up a lot of young men who are excellent carpenters today. I know of 2 of them who tried to train Caymanians only, but they would show up for a couple of days or a week as an apprentice. Minimum pay as payment is based on performance and completion. They quit, and no one has the decency to say, I quit. Stephanie says, according to you, it will not be your money, rental deposit. It's being lost. It will be theirs because you're supposed to be taking it back from their salaries in the first month of them working. Remember that voice note. Good point. Derek says immigration needs to apply all of the force of the law to these types of abusive people. It's called human trafficking. What type of human is he? Shaking my head. Jamelia says, pay no attention to that. What a hot mess. To what part? Sharon says, I hope immigration is listening that he lied on the application form for the guys. Well, trust me, immigration is very much aware of this situation. Like I said, a formal complaint has been lodged with immigration, and it's very, very unfortunate. Listen, Cliff, you canceled the work permit, but again, how did you notify these guys? Because I find it really hard to believe that they're going to pen a 2-page letter, right? Where they talk about things like Mr. Groves made us borrow a lot of money to travel to the Cayman Islands, assuring us work. And in his work permit, he said he's going to be guaranteeing them work for 3 years. He gave us the travel time information, claiming that they need that reference number to give them to receive an email. And they go on, the English is a little bit not the best. He's kept calling saying, get everything ready to travel. He explains every time that the project manager that he's working with right now for some condo, that she traveled twice. His wife overheard her talking and that every time she comes back, she stays at the Holiday Inn hotel, and it's a nice hotel, etc. But when Mr. Groves found out that he had to pay for the workers coming into the island to work, he changed again. Mr. Groves wanted me to send him $2,500 to pay, which I did not, because 6 of us were splitting the quarantine rental, which we got for $3,000. Then he has his wife message me in Spanish saying, you're the boss of the group, send the money. I appoint so-and-so as leader due to their high knowledge and good command of the English language. Okay, stated that I got off the phone with Cayman Airways, and they're saying that you should be able to make it on the flight for the 1st of July. Travel Cayman should be able to get an approval within this period of time and within 10 days, this time frame. But if for some reason you should not make it, the next flight is July the 15th. So don't worry about the work permit expiring. We will make it on time. This is all in their complaint letter to immigration. 2 pages. We will get it sorted out. We will make sure that you guys went ahead and book your tickets. Did you guys book your plane ticket for the 1st of July? Correct me if it's not correct. So again, knowing all of this, I mean, I find it really, really hard to believe that you received information at the very last minute that these guys coming from Honduras, listen, Cayman and Honduras are very much connected. And just like we have the Mall Road here in Cayman, they got what would it be in Spanish? What is Mall Road in Spanish? So they've got the Mall Road in Honduras as well. So had he had concerns about these guys, you do your due diligence before you make them pay for tickets, borrow money from other people, before you make them pay for their own quarantine accommodations, which is also against the law. I'm just saying, none of this is good business. This does make Cliff look very, very bad. All right, we got tons of comments coming in here. Cece says, good morning, one and all. Caymanians being robbed left, right, and center in every aspect, and it's sad. Jackie says, this is almost what they're doing to many people here. Vicky, his voice notes honestly sound like he was desperate to just get fair treatment for all parties involved. Well, his voice notes also show him committing an immigration offense. Marshall interprets the voice notes differently. Says some of these voice notes are very incriminating. If immigration gets a hold of it, they have them already. We shouldn't have to do that because he is a Caymanian, says Morna. I'm not sure what that's in reference to. Marshall says, Karen says, Marshall, it's his job as a contractor to find Caymanian carpenters. He is the business and should know where to find them. Well, I don't know. Someone said it's difficult to find Caymanian contractors. Or carpenters. They didn't sound like carpenters. They sounded like trainee carpenters. And I totally understand and get that a lot of times there are Caymanians who, as that person rightfully said, will show up to the job and not actually do the job. And that is something that we need to, even if it's 1% of the people doing that, those are the stories that people will use time and time and time again, even if it's 10%, which is way too high. But those are the people who make it bad for all of the rest of us. Because trust me, there are Caymanians who get up to work every single day. They get up and go to work, whether they feel good or not. They're there and they're performing. And these couple bad seeds that every country has are highlighted as, this is what Caymanians are all about. And that does not represent the vast majority of Caymanians. But they make us all look bad. And we need to start kicking them in the butt to shape up. If you don't want a job and you don't want to do it, then don't show up. Don't even apply for the job, in fact. Don't waste an employer's time, because you waste an employer's time applying for jobs and claiming that you want work, which what you really want is quick money. So Jackie says maybe someone should be following up on what jobs these permit holders actually end up doing and what their pay is. Well, now they're not going to be doing any jobs with him because he has since decided he does not require their services. So it appears that their work permits were canceled on the 28th before they came up on the 1st. So I am confused if that is the case. And here's Mr. Cliff again, says I canceled the work permits because I found out they are criminals. So I canceled them immediately after I found out about them. Cliff, how did you not know that beforehand? Do you not do any checks before? It's easy to say they're criminals because that sounds good, and we definitely don't want to hire any criminals and have more of them coming into the Cayman Islands. I don't have any issues with that. But you're going to find 6 guys in Honduras that are all criminals? How did you even manage that? The chances of that is pretty slim to none. Have you ever hired people from Honduras before? Why would you be going to Honduras? I'm just saying. Cayman probably has carpenters that are not working, qualified carpenters. Jamaica has qualified carpenters. I'm just confused about how this played out. It's great that you don't want to import criminals, but guess what? They're already here. Now, here's the position that you put them in, right? You've taken out a work permit for them because of whatever lacks and slipped up in the systems. They're now in this country. So if you're claiming that they're criminals, you, through your screw up, has allowed immigration through their screw up to let 6 criminals, you say, are now here in this country saying to immigration that they wish to remain and they want to be given time to find other employment. So you've just allowed 6 criminals to borrow money from friends and family to find $3,000 to come to the Cayman Islands to work. These criminals might come looking for you, Cliff, to get that $3,000 back if you say that they're criminals. This is just a hot mess of a situation. They go on to say the bit about ignoring the carpenter helper occupation, to pay no attention to that. They're all carpenters and how that was done to save a little bit of money. I wish you'd address that point, Cliff, because that's very, very clear what you said there. Why are you breaching the immigration laws of this country? It says, we all 6 carpenters are not happy with the outcome of this situation at all. Trusting a businessman here on the island in the Cayman Islands has put us in a bad situation. On arriving on island on the 1st of July, Thursday, from Honduras, we took a taxi to our quarantine location, paid the taxi, got inside the home, settled with our bags, and called Mr. Groves, told him we have arrived safely and we're in quarantine. He replied, I don't need you all again. You all can go back home where you come from. Just take the flight back. Then he said we came in the country illegally and that we are in big problems. Then he blocked the phone. We are asking the immigration department to cancel these work permits at once. Well, apparently he already had done that. We're out of quarantine. At once we're out of quarantine. We're asking for time to obtain another work permit so that we can repay our lenders and get our lives back together. This is an illegal act that Mr. Groves took against us. I do know Cayman has human rights laws, which I am reporting this to the Department of Immigration before the matter gets worse with us. So now you got people here wanting to invoke human rights laws. Cliff, what the hell? Seriously, what is this? This is not good. Not good at all. I'm not impressed here. Bonnie, good morning. Gene says he's incriminated himself. Miranda. Cliff says this is completely false. Told them not to come here because I canceled their work permit. Okay, Cliff. I am 1,000% sure that if you cancel their work permit, that you have some proof of that. Simple. This is not, I do a lot of detective work in this job, and this is not brain surgery in terms of detective work. This is very, very straightforward, in fact. This is amateur detective work that even the RCIPS could undertake. I'm messing with the RCIPS. Send us the proof, Cliff. You've got to have a voice note because that's how you're communicating with them. Or you have to have something in writing that said, I messaged them to say you're no longer needed. Simple, simple, simple. Cece says, but prior to putting in a work permit for anyone, aren't they required to provide a valid police clearance certificate? They pick and choose who to abide by the law and who can get a hall pass. Magdalene says the minister needs to look at the fee structure and remove some of the layers. What do you mean by layers? I don't know what Emil says, really, and how did you find out that? And that's a serious accusation. That's defamation. I don't even know what you're talking about. Some of them were here working. Some of them were working here with no problem before. So how come it is only with you that they have a problem? So some of them actually working and came out before. Exactly. And calling people criminal without proof is illegal. What a mess. Linda, good morning. Linda joins the conversation. Not paying the correct work permit fee on purpose to reduce the cost is tax fraud. Well, we don't have taxes, but it's an offense under the immigration law. This is the indirect taxation system of the Cayman Islands. The work permit fee is the tax collection. Well, it's a stated work permit offense. Another person says, Cliff and all employers should note that due diligence in all employees is essential prior to hiring. Stating that he does not know who these guys are should have been an obvious red flag. Vetting the introducer is also an obvious requirement. he should repatriate them at his expense. And he should have also advised travel time that he canceled the work permits. And I think that is what hasn't happened. Thank you so much for that comment. Another person says that I know for a fact that he was looking for Caymanian carpenters because his wife contacted me, but I couldn't find any for her. How did they get on the plane if he canceled? They're asking for the approval letter at the check-in counter. All right, so we have evidence that in May, he was looking for local carpenters and said he couldn't find any. Well, listen, if he applies and if he puts it out there and nobody applies, then what can you do? All right, let me just see here. Somebody said so far he sounds like the criminal here. Just trying to read some of the comments. All right, Victoria, does Cayman have systems in place for independent contractors or workers so Cayman construction workers can pick up work anytime a job opens up, or are they still having to apply to a company? Well, they can set up their own company. So to be clear, they can set up their own company. So someone asked me to listen to voice note urgently. I can't exactly listen to voice note if I'm on air, folks. So what a hot mess. He was worried about losing the deposit that he would loan them and would be charged out of their first month pay. He is so disgusting, says Derek. CC says novella, series of real life sus. Oh, Lord, Roderick. Tracy says she feels sorry for these men. They were hoping at a job to provide for their families. I mean, listen, this is not the kind of situation. Listen, I know sometimes Caymanians kind of take this attitude that we don't care about other people, especially when they're coming into our country and how they're treated and blah, blah, blah. But I can assure you, as someone who has lived in another man's country, there is nothing more stressful than having to deal with immigration systems that you don't necessarily understand. And the truth of the matter is, when you have dishonest or shady employers who are trying to take advantage of your lack of understanding of the law, of the language, of the processes, of the systems, whatever the case may be, then it's not a good situation. So, all right, so someone has said that this situation with this situation with him is a little bit more complex, and that it's been going back and forth for some time, because he's been claiming that he lost the contract from Davenport, but then he got it back. So I'm a little bit confused, because there is a portion of the voice note that we heard earlier where he does make mention that he's been holding Davenport off and giving them all sorts of excuses. So then I can't play this. Well, okay. Well, if we're going to play this voice note, let's just play the voice note. Hold on. Let's just play this voice note, because this voice note apparently gives us additional information. Let's see what this voice note says. Okay. Trying to play this voice note. Hold on 1 second. What a hot mess. Okay, this voice note.
Morning, Ms. Shireen. This thing not from this year, this thing from last year, from July last year, we've been working at this. You know, this guy, he been got from last year working on all this, and then he stopped because he said he lost the permit. I mean, the contract. And then this year he contacted us again that he got another contract and he need us to July. So we start getting ready and that day.
So this voice note.
Morning, Ms. Shireen. This thing not from this year, this thing from last year, from July last year.
So they're saying that from July of last year, this guy is saying that, listen, this isn't something recent. This has been back and forth from July of last year that he has been talking to them. Then he had said he had lost a contract that he wanted them to come down and work. And then he got another contract. So again, if you've been talking to people from July of last year about them coming and working in the Cayman Islands, how is it that now 2 days before they are to arrive in this country, that you only then find out that they are criminals in Honduras? You've had over a year or almost a year to figure that out. So I don't know that I'm buying it. Vicky says we really need to look into these construction companies and who they're bringing in. How are these buildings being built properly and safely if these workers aren't even qualified or experienced? Well, I don't know that we necessarily know that part in terms of qualifications. Immigration is supposed to be checking these things, but then again, we do have, they're supposed to check, I guess, certifications, but there are building codes and building inspectors, Vicky, that should be checking these buildings to ensure that anyone who is carrying out the work, any contractor who's carrying out the work, is doing so at the building code standards. So I don't know that we can jump to that conclusion. That I think we have one of the best building code standards in the entire world. And, I feel confident that that is being upheld by the authorities that be in the planning department. That's their job. That's why they have inspectors that inspect the work at every, junction, whether it's plumbing inspectors, electrical, and so on. I think what we have here is a few things going on. He says he can't find Caymanian workers. And if he can't find Caymanian workers, then he can't find Caymanian workers. So if he has made a genuine effort to find them, and that doesn't seem possible, then what can we do about that part of it? Another issue here is the fact that he hasn't been honest with immigration. He's trying to take advantage of the immigration system. And these workers are also saying that he's not been honest with them. Now, we have a lot of people, Caymanians. And when I say Caymanians, I don't care if you got it by status or however you got it, but we have a lot of Caymanians that are taking out work permits for people when they have no work for them. We see it all the time. When we were in court the other day, listening to the Tortuga robbery, there was evidence presented, immigration, where are you? Where's enforcement? There was evidence presented in that case that the accused had allegedly committed immigration offenses by asking her friend to take out work permit for people who didn't have a job. Oh, just take it out for them so they can stay in Cayman. Why are we allowing this to happen? If you don't have a company and you can't prove that this person is employed and working in your company and receiving a salary, this is now where immigration really needs to buckle down. They need to start saying, listen, we're not playing with y'all anymore. You're defrauding the system. Sometimes it's Caymanians because they're getting paid something from a friend or they're trying to help a friend. But we are allowing people to stay in this country on the work permit system who have no work. And it runs the gamut. It doesn't matter where they're from. They're from Honduras. They're from Jamaica, they're from the US, they're from Canada, they're Europeans, they're all over the place. I've seen it happen, every country. Then they use that time to try and find a legitimate job or to commit criminal activities. Because you better believe if somebody's here and they're not working, how are they surviving in what is one of the most expensive places in the world? Big shout out to Yvonne on Instagram, Louisa, Goddess345, Antonio, Monique, all watching, Mariah, Devo, Sarah, Joy is watching us, Lorna, David, Heaven Sent, Marco. So this is my question, right? We are part of the problem. Those of you who engage in this activity, taking out work permits for people when you don't have legitimate work for them, allows people to stay here who then are at the mercy of other people, even these guys who find themselves now in this mix-up story with Cliff and his company, are now stuck in this country and at the mercy of other people because they have no job, who have to assist them when it comes to ensuring that they have food, etc. Remember in his voice note, Cliff said that he would have advanced them money on their salary until they get paid because Davenport pays every 2 weeks. So it's like, come on, man. Now you've left these people stranded. You've left them stranded in the Cayman Islands. Morning, Scott. How you doing? With no money. They already have loans, money that they've had to borrow from friends and family to be able to get here. So they're in the hole. Now they've got to turn around and find a way to pay that money back. You see why sometimes people come to the Cayman Islands, they're like, you know what? These Caymanian people just taking advantage of everybody. Got life so easy that they don't care. They don't understand the realities of, I just don't have $3,000. And maybe I had to borrow, $100 from this one, $100 from that one. And those people expect their money back. And do you know, since you want to talk about Honduras and criminality and all this sort of stuff, listen, that's a country you don't mess around with people money, even when it comes to family. They'll deal with you on a different level. So now you put these guys in a real uncomfortable predicament where they promise family that they'd pay them back, or friends, or whoever they borrow the money from, and they're not in a position to do so. Tracy says, what a recipe for disaster. Now, supposedly, there are 6 criminals now in this country, no work, no money, and desperate times means desperate measures. So if they're already criminals, then if I'm not wrong, to think that crime will be inevitable. You understand what I'm saying? This is what I don't get. I mean, Cliff, I would have expected at least that part of it had you really found that out. Now, I'm curious, right? Again, amateur detective work here, folks. You have said that this is the situation as it relates to these guys, right? When you wrote the letter to immigration, canceling their work permits, did you state in this cancellation letter the reason why you were canceling the work permit? Because they're criminals? I'm just curious. How do we verify that story that you're now putting forward is even true? Miss Darlene Mackenzie, because we normally have more than one Darlene on the program, says, Sandra, Cayman Islands is the place to be, with no disrespect. When their work permit is up, they're crying that they do not want to go home. They will do anything just to stay here. They will even hide when they know they're overstaying, or stay on a low, just wait to see if anything will be worked out for them so that the work permit can be renewed and they don't have to go home and wait. They can remain in the Cayman Islands to make their big money or small money. Well, listen, again, who brings in people on work permits if it's not Caymanians? People with status, Caymanians, whatever. You're the ones who apply for work permit. So when you no longer need someone, the thing that you're supposed to do is actually contact immigration and cancel their work permits. And I know a lot of times that doesn't happen. Even big corporate entities are not doing it. They don't immediately cancel the work permit because they're giving the workers time to go around and shop around and find other work, which, by the way, is not permissible per the immigration law. CC says, well, what's the difference with the law firms and businesses bringing in front desk, dishwashers, and many others for simple jobs that Caymanians can do, even in the pandemic? Agreed. So Ms. Sue says there's lots of young boys who are willing to learn to work. SciFec teachers are supposed to help them find internships and haven't kept to their word. Well, that's a whole other situation. Having said that, there's some jobs that if you need someone to be a carpenter on a major project for Davenport, that person can't be a trainee. They need to be a seasoned carpenter who knows what they're doing. Not to say that you can't have trainees tagging along and learning, because there's only one way to learn that kind of work is on the job, right? Tracy, again, asking the question, if the permits were canceled, how did they enter? And if they're here illegally, they should be on the next plane out. Well, the next plane out doesn't happen because of COVID until the 15th, when they'd be coming out of quarantine. So they arrived on the 1st, say they get out on day 14. Heaven forbid they come here now with COVID. Since he canceled their work permits, that means the poor people don't even have any insurance coverage. They have nothing. Y'all need to think about the position that you're putting people in. Canceling a last minute work permit or canceling a work permit last minute during a COVID pandemic when we're still shut down as an employer makes no sense. So Cliff, you did cancel it on the 28th. Great. That's not enough. And the reasons that you give, I'm very, very suspicious of. Elizabeth says they're all cheating the system. Many come in as landscapers and are doing construction and other jobs. Rosie says his business license should be suspended until this issue is thoroughly investigated by the competent authorities and resolved. Naruk says it's clear that he knows what he did, and now he calls them criminals and everything he pleases to get them out and get the problem out of his life. Gabby says he's wicked to make those poor people leave their home, to now have them come out here and be in this situation. He thinks because he's a Caymanian, we must believe him. Good morning, Clinton. Jessica says, yes, but with voice notes, with the date, those were sent as well. I mean, words is one thing, but that should show when they were sent and received. Well, we're waiting on the voice notes with that date. Derek says he's a fraud from top to bottom. That's Derek's opinion. I plead justice for these poor guys. Roderick asking about Frank Packer. Somebody said yesterday his last name is actually pronounced Pacquier or something fancy. I don't give a... Listen, he took that woman's hard-earned money. I'm happy to say the construction company that he was working for yesterday, as we were discussing that case, decided to terminate his contract. Right in the middle of the show, I got the word that he no longer works for this company. Just like that, boom. There's consequences, folks, when you rip people off and you do stuff like this. You can't just go jump into a project management job at another company when you have not even handled your own business right. You know what I'm saying? And there's evidence that you've taken $160,000 from somebody else. That's just wrong. Sharon says work is not doing their job again. How many people they have registered that need jobs before they go granting permits? They should have see who they have and recommend them to this company. The whole system is really messed up because on the one hand, he said that he's been looking for carpenters. And we just saw a message that his wife sent to someone saying she's looking for carpenters. The question that I then have is, did he actually register with Works to say, I'm looking for carpenters? So in the event that they have any Caymanian carpenters in their system, they could say, hey, we've got 5 carpenters listed. Is it not mandatory for all jobs that before applying for the jobs, you actually register with Works? Folks, years ago, I was on Straight Talk with Ruth Anna, and I gave the government this idea for free when they had introduced, what was it called before Works? Whatever the heck they had it. They're always changing these names, right? I said, the only way this is actually going to work is to make it mandatory for all employers to register, and mandatory for everyone who's looking for a job to register in the system as well. Because then you can have a linking and meeting of the minds, folks. How else is it supposed to work? If you have a database and people are not even using the database. Finally, the last government said, yes, we're going to do that. It took forever for them to implement Jobs Cayman. I understand there are some issues with the portal. I'm hoping that those have been ironed out or close to being ironed out. So every single employer, but there's always exceptions. Oh, we're going to make an exception for this company because, they've got such high ranking management positions that I guess Caymanians would never need or want or whatever. No. Everyone should be forced to register. And everyone, if they have any good sense that's looking for a job, should be registering as well so that they can find a match. But a lot of Caymanians give up. Oh, the work system isn't working. We can't be bothered. This, that, and the next thing. Well, Gabriella Wood is joining us. Thank you so much. Louisa says he needs to pay them back so that they can pay back their loans back home. It's a sad situation. Something has to give. Here's some other comments from WhatsApp. This person says, Sandy, my 2 cents worth, no Caymanian apply, but the work permit doesn't say carpenter. Well, that touche, my dear. Touche, my dear detective lady. You have been promoted to senior inspector. Because we forget now that in the process of applying for these work permits, Cliff has lied. So he didn't actually say he was looking for a carpenter. He said he was looking for a carpenter's assistant. Now, did his job adverts when he was advertising locally say carpenter's assistant or carpenter? I don't even know. That's a fair point. Very good point. From the sound of it, he applied for a labor permit and not carpentry. And when applying for a permit, you have to submit and prove Caymanians did not apply for the position. So I'm a bit confused. Someone said immigration isn't going to do anything if they're making money on an application. Another person, I once had a person on a work permit ask me to take out a business license for her, then non-Caymanian boyfriend. They would pay all the fees, etc. It was so he could get a work permit under the business license. I told them, hell no, and almost reported them. Well, you should have reported them. Not almost. You should have reported them, my dear. All right. So another person says he may have canceled the work permit, but did he relay that to them? And again, that is the $1 million question at this point. All right. Derek Rhonda says, so if these guys had work permits and they're supposedly criminals, do they not require police record? Well, let's just put it this way. I could see the point being made where you can get a clean police record, but that does not mean that you're not a criminal. Yeah. We have a lot of them right here in the Cayman Islands. They come in and they get a police clearance, but they're involved in drug and gang activity and whatever else where they come from. It only means that they've either not been charged with anything to have a record, or they know how to get a clean police record in their country, even if they had been charged. Rashida says, good morning. I was just thinking what Cliff did was wrong on so many levels. But one thing for sure, God sits high and he looks low. What you do, when you do wrong, it will come back to you, and you don't do anything wrong in life. And then this person says, and how funny of him. He makes these guys spend and take loans to come work for him because he was looking for highly qualified people at a low rate. And now he left them alone with the loans they took out in their country just to work for him. It's very sad. Dean says, don't worry, someone will take out these work permits tomorrow. Hopefully somebody that actually has work for them. Derek says, do we have any proof that they're criminals? These police record proves him wrong. Good morning, Carson. Good morning, Jess. We got lots of messages here. The man probably, it seems, he lost his contract with his company. He went against his workers and he's calling them criminals. It's a hot mess. Folks, I do have to end the program a little bit early today. I see the tons more comments coming in because unfortunately, because I got to get ready to go to the luncheon today, which is a good thing. I'm very interested. We will live stream that. So again, in case you missed it, we do have the premier, the Honorable Wayne Panton, speaking at the Chamber Legislative Luncheon today. The Chamber always does this. So every time there's a new government that comes in, they invite them to a luncheon so that they can just do an introduction with the business community and their members. And, they get to meet, especially the premier of the country. Whoops. Et cetera, et cetera. So quite an unfortunate situation. So just give me 1 second here. We might have a special person coming on the program, which would be very interesting. But here's another voice note that's being played. This is from the guys. Again, this is coming in live this morning. So just hold on 1 second. David says no work equals rise in crime. Rashida says, she has her doubts about Cliff. Magdalene says, I'm on EK now, and the amount of persons looking employment. I wonder, does Works not review this website? Well, Magdalene, let's be fair to Works. They're trying to help people find a job. So they might not be reviewing that work. Let me ask you, Magdalene, are those Caymanians or other people looking for work? Because I know a lot of other people, non-Caymanians, go on there looking for work, but enforcement maybe needs to troll those websites, just like we told them yesterday to start going to some of these boat cruise events to pick up all these fake marriages. Honey child. Listen, right now, message all of your friends and tell them to tune in to CMR, because we have, this is the power of CMR. We have willing to come on the show right now. One of the owners, I believe is the proper title, directors, whatever, of Davenport Development, and he wants to speak to the situation. Paul is actually on vacation, so let me just give Paul the link so that he can join the show. I'm going to give him a few minutes because he wants to speak on this. These are the people who give Cliff his contract. And Paul, despite being on vacation, wants to set the record straight so that his company doesn't look like they're supporting people who might not be following the law. Well, he's going to tell us, I guess, what he has to say here in a second. Wow, what a hot mess. In the meantime, let's listen to a voice note from some other people who, from the guys. They've now sent another voice note. So let's see what they have to say.
Ruin our reputation because we are not criminals. We don't have no record in Honduras. Honduras law, they do not permit anybody to get up to the country if they're a criminal. We have to take out a police record. And right away, if you're a criminal right there, they hold you right there in the spot. They do not let you out. So it's not nice how they.
Oh, sorry. Okay, I think we might have to do a WhatsApp call. He's got slow internet where he's vacationing. Let's just finish listening to this voice note really quickly.
Honduras law, they do not permit anybody to get out to the country if they're a criminal. We have to take out a police record. And right away, if you're a criminal right there, they hold you right there in the spot. They do not let you out. So it's not nice how this guy that just ruined our reputation here. And I really don't appreciate me, putting us up there just like that because what about the future, We got kids too, and if you didn't came here for not much, that's just right.
Hello, Paul speaking.
Hi, Paul. Good morning. How are you?
Good afternoon from Spain.
Oh.
I'm on vacation. How are you?
Oh my gosh, I'm sorry that we have to interrupt your vacation.
That is no problem whatsoever. I've just been given a little phone call about what the conversation is this morning.
Mm-hmm. So we just listened to a voice note from one of the guys involved in this. It's 6 guys from Honduras, and he said, "Listen, we don't appreciate Cliff now claiming that we're criminals, and that's why he's canceled our work permits. This isn't true. We have all clean police clearance records." He says this is causing reputational damage to them because they have families to feed, et cetera, et cetera. What's your take on this situation? It sounds awfully messy. So what we do know, Paul, in all fairness to Cliff, is apparently days before they were due to arrive on the 1st of July, he did cancel their work permit on the 28th. Now, whether or not that was communicated to them, we still have no confirmation of. They say that it wasn't, and they did not know that their work permit had been canceled until they arrived on island, and then they made contact with him during quarantine. He claims that he canceled it. He didn't exactly say if he notified them, so there's a lack of clarity there. But now we have 6 men who are in quarantine, stuck paying over $3,000 of money they've had to borrow from friends and family to basically be here. No work permit, no jobs. What's your take on this?
Well, my take is that I think it's disgraceful that anybody will exploit a worker of any description, whether they be Honduranian, Filipino, Irish, English, Jamaican, whatever. We do not we abhor this, and we do not support anybody who hasn't got the proper like paperwork in place and stuff like that. We did give Cliff a contract to build a building. So I have no idea if he hired people to build the building. Why he would not. I don't know enough information to tell you that as to why he canceled their permits or didn't cancel their permits. But what I can tell you is what we do is we have a strict rule between me and Ken in Davenport that if we hear a rumor, we don't even need it to be validated or proven. If we hear a rumor that you are not paying your guys, generally Davenport will then get the blame because they turn around and say Davenport haven't paid them.
Right.
Now we pay religiously every other Friday. Religiously. There is not one contract on this island that can claim they have not been paid from us, right? So, but what we do and say is, if we hear your guys saying, "Oh, but Paul, Johnny is saying that you didn't pay him," we cut the contractor off straight away. Because it's often the case, there is exploitation on the island, it's not fair, and there's often the case where the ultimate person who's writing the check, be it Arch and Godfrey, Davenport Development, Dart, whoever, gets the blame for not paying the money. But I have seen, as you know, I'm in now, I was in Hard Rock and we're now in Davenport for 16 years.
Yep.
It's amazing how you're paying a main contractor, be it an electrician, plumber, wall guy, and he comes on site with a brand new van, but yet his boys are saying, we can get paid, boss.
Wow.
So I'm not saying that's the case with
yes
at all.
Yes.
But the fact that rumor has hit Davenport's office, I can tell you right now, Cliff Groves will not be building for Davenport.
Yes.
Not because you are having this conversation, Sandra.
Yeah.
Nothing got to do with you. Because whether you are having a conversation, the newspaper, Cayman Compass was having a conversation, or two people in a bar were having a conversation. If our name, me and Ken, me and Ken for donkey's years.
Yep.
And me and Ken protect our reputation like it's gold, which it is gold.
Yes, exactly.
You only have your reputation on the small
in this
island.
business. Yes, absolutely.
And our reputation is gold. We don't have to fill out credit. Sorry, I'm moving out.
That's okay.
Right. I'm moving. We don't have to fill out credit application forms with A.L. Thompson's with Mr. Frank Flowers. Frank Flowers turned around and said, "No, you don't need to fill out an application." I know Ken since he was born. And now there's my name as well put into that because I have my papers and I have my Caymanian status and my Caymanian shipness, if that's the word. But no, we don't play with people being exploited.
Yeah.
So,
and I mean, it makes sense because even
stance on the whole thing.
Yeah, Paul, because even yesterday, we talked about another contractor. I mean, he had his own personal business, but, he took $160,000 from this woman and did not build her even a foundation for that money. And then he goes and gets a job with another local business as a project manager where he's able to continue to work and to operate. Not exactly through his company because he claims that he liquidated the company conveniently after taking her money. But, this company made a decision yesterday, but this is not the type of person that they want any affiliation with because it taints your reputation when you're doing business with people who are unscrupulous, who are treating their workers,
and everybody will tell you that Davenport is exactly the same. If it smells like you are not paying your guys, we cut you loose. It's like, bye-bye.
Yeah.
Bye-bye. We have had to take over because sometimes it gets to a point where it's a point of no return.
Yeah.
So you have 80% of the building done, and I can't get ABC Electrical or ABC Plumbing or ABC Contracting to come in and take over the building. So we have told the guys, we will pay you. We are not paying the boss because he clearly is not paying you.
Right.
But we are paying you. We will pay you directly to finish the job.
Wow.
Probably not the most, if the chief immigration officer is listening, probably not the most legal of things.
Yes.
But we have to get our building finished and the boys have to be paid.
Yeah.
You cannot exploit people. I mean,
it's just wrong.
1832, it's a slave trade. Yeah. We're not there now.
And it creates so many other issues, like you were saying.
Lot of it, and myself and Ken are adamant that we are not a part of it. So I hope I'm on the air.
Yes, we were hearing you loud and clear.
Like airing this, you're hearing me loud and clear. But we tell everybody when they start a project with Davenport, if we hear a rumor of you not paying your guys, it doesn't have to be true or false. If we hear a rumor, you're gone.
Good.
And I will tell you today.
And that should be a warning to all contractors looking to do business.
I can tell you today, we my senior manager called Cliff Groves today and said, bye-bye. It doesn't matter whether it's true, false, or indifferent. We're not we're not getting tarnished with that brush. We're not into it.
Right.
So
because you keep hearing that even in the voice notes, Paul, he keeps calling your name, Davenport. You know, oh, I've got this job at Davenport.
They all do. And
you know,
the royal pain. They use this with immigration, and they say to immigration, "Oh, we have the tiling contract, we have the painting contract, we have the kitchen contract, we have the this contract, that contract with Davenport," and immigration knows that we play by their rules. Planning knows we pay by the rules. NRA, whoever, DEH, they all know we don't try and even bend the rule. There's no point. We're like, what do we need to do? Let's do it. Done.
Yeah.
You know, if we build the garbage enclosure wrong, let's build it correctly. Tear it down and build it correctly and hurry up and do it. So they will use the Davenport name, which we know on Cayman is like not like royalty. That's very obnoxious. Is well known.
Yes, you guys have a lot of projects and a lot of high end. Yeah.
But therefore, you cannot use it incorrectly. You cannot claim to be a Davenport employee, a Davenport contractor, but not pay your boys or your girls.
Right.
Sorry, your boys or your ladies.
Right.
You know.
So what do you think will happen to these guys now? I mean, they're stuck in quarantine. They've had to borrow money.
To pay. He should be made to pay for their quarantine, and we've gotten a. I better be careful now. We've gotten a senior manager from South Africa who we paid for 2 months to be in Plantation Village for him and his wife and his child. We paid for their airfare over, and we paid for their accommodation. We have a lady who's going to be a procurement manager who we've paid for her quarantine because she has to be 2 weeks. We currently have another business, which I will plug, Get Nailed and More, which is going from a small unit in, what's it called, Caribbean Plaza, up to the old Ropers, you know, the Club Havana, the Cuban Club.
Yeah.
So we're moving right up there, and that's my Ken and me and Shirley are partners there. So there's about 5 or 6 girls coming from the Philippines. We're paying for the flights. We're paying for their quarantine. That's what you have to do.
Yeah.
What are you going to do? Unfortunately, there's no Caymanians who have nail skills or esthetician skills or whatever, you know, beauty skills, whatever you call it. But if we want them to work for us, we have to pay for them to work for us.
Yeah.
It's that simple.
Yeah.
We have to take that as a cost of business. Everybody has to take that as a cost of business. If I want to have a heavy equipment operator come from Jamaica, I have to pay for his flight to come from Jamaica and pay for his 5 or 10 days or 14 days quarantine.
Yeah, absolutely. That's what the law requires. Yeah.
And that's what the law requires, exactly. You know, and we don't ask them to reimburse us or take $100 a month or a week or whatever from his salary or her salary. Like, that's the cost of employing the person, and don't employ them if you can't afford the cost of employing them.
Exactly. Yeah, I've said it before.
Yeah.
I'm a small business owner, so I get it. I mean, I know how costs can add up, and sometimes for me in my business, it's made sense for me to only take on what I can handle, so that I don't have to hire additional staff or whatever, or I outsource it to people who have their own companies, and then I just pay them a flat fee or whatever. But yeah, you've got to be
whatever. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, you've got to be.
We constantly hire kids from UCCI. Randy is a professor from UCCI. We're constantly hiring kids from UCCI to try and train them off and get them going, and even, you know, males and females, to be painters, to be electricians, to be sheetrock people, even to be in the office as engineers, you know. But until we get to the place where we can only hire Caymanians, you still have to hire expats, but you have to pay to hire them expats. That's simple. You can't exploit them.
Yes. Now, Paul, I know that you're on holiday, so we don't want to take up too much of your time. I also have to run to an appointment, but will you come back? We have a lot of people asking questions about, Davenport. Do you guys have an apprenticeship program? Once you're back, or you have a bit more time, will you come on the program and speak to our listeners? We've got over 400 people right now who are very interested.
Sure Ken would be. Ken will be more than happy. Well, I'm talking for Ken now. He's probably listening to you and going to shoot me. But I certainly will. And Dan, who's our project, our senior manager, and Ken, so I'm pretty sure Ken will come. Ken is an Ireland Caymanian supporter of. He sits on the business staffing plan, and he wants Caymanians to be gone for it, as we all do. I'm the exact same. Why would anybody go and spend the money to do all the administration process and do all the paperwork process and pay the fee for a mason or a carpenter when you can hire somebody on island, when you can hire a local? You'd be crazy,
Okay.
So
well,
absolutely.
thank you.
I am back on the 6th of August, so I would appreciate an invitation.
Yes,
anytime
absolutely.
Towards the end of August.
Okay, sounds good. Well, thank you very, very much for even reaching out this morning and willing to speak on this. I think it's good to know that there are principled companies out there that really stand by a position. And
I think, in fairness, all of Ken's compatriots, or all the people that Ken went to school with, I'm not going to name the names. Everybody knows who they are. Like 55 to 45 years of age, 55 years of age, all feel exactly the same way. I don't know. There's not one that I've sat around the dinner table with and has had an opposing view.
Yeah.
So
okay.
We all feel the same.
Yes. All right, my dear. Well, thank you very much.
Okay.
Okay. Enjoy the rest of your vacation.
Cheers.
All right. Have a good one.
Bye.
Okay. Bye-bye. All right, folks. So again, that's Paul from Davenport. He has agreed to come back. He's actually on vacation. And listen, say what you want to say, but for someone who's on vacation to reach out and say, listen, this is our position. This is where we stand on this issue this morning. We hear what is being said, and this has been our position. We do not agree with giving people contracts who they then don't pay their staff because indirectly it makes us look bad because they're working on our projects. And so their position is they will cancel those projects. And he has just said that as a result of what has been revealed here even today, they have made the decision to cancel the contract with Cliff. So folks, these are real life consequences. You fire these 6 guys and you cancel their work permits. And then the end result is you've just lost the entire contract because of how you've treated 6 guys. And you're saying how you're going to deduct money out of their pay, et cetera, et cetera. Life. Sometimes the results of our actions come full circle immediately. It is what it is. All right, my folks, I need to go sort out this hot mess of a situation I keep calling hair that's on top of my head. Rocio is going to be trying to rescue me today. So we're going to get that sorted out. I do have to get to her because I've got an appointment. And then I'm also off to the luncheon at 12 o'clock. So please, the luncheon is sold out, so I can't invite you to the luncheon, but make sure that you tune in at 12 to hear what the Premier has to say at the Cayman Islands Chamber of Commerce legislative luncheon, which, like I said, is a regular feature. Again, folks, we're here to try to stand up for people who do not have a voice. Unfortunately, these guys from Honduras are afraid to speak up normally. There's just so many issues that fall out of this, and it's unfair. I don't believe in mistreating people no matter where they're from. If we want to invite them into our country, then we need to have certain standards by which we operate and by which we treat people. We can't just say, oh, because they're not Caymanians, somehow they have no human rights and they're second-class people and we can treat them like shit. That's just not fair. The same treatment I would expect for myself, my child, my family. I think all people should be treated with some minimum standards of decency. And unfortunately, in business, if you don't know how to run a business, you shouldn't be in business. And part of running businesses, folks, is knowing how to treat not just your customers, but as we say in the world of business, your internal customers, which are your employees. Learn how to treat them well too. They're not disposable. You can't just throw them aside as you wish and as you feel. On that note, I'm sure that this conversation will continue tomorrow. I see people still sending me voice notes and other bits and pieces of information. Thank you for the folks that were joining us on the YouTube feed. We appreciate Instagram folks are also listening to the program. We have 85 people on YouTube right now, 288 on Facebook. At one point, we went up to almost 500 people between Facebook and YouTube this morning. So thank you guys so much. Nathania, thank you. Have a beautiful day. Tommy from the Bahamas says, have a great day at the luncheon. Great show as always. And you do get to the point. We try to. Just reminds us of the golden rule, do unto others as you'd have them do unto you. Thank you, Roderick. Thank you, Elizabeth, Miss Sue, Sharon, Gabby, Angela, Victoria, Linda, all of you who were tuned into the morning show, as usual, as sort of our normal show audience. Thank you guys. And if you're new to the program, of course, the name of the program is The Cold Hard Truth. Appreciate your comments. We invite you to call in. It's so super easy. Hi, Megan. It's so super easy for you guys to just click on a link and join in the conversation. We've done it with our trivia questions and that sort of thing. And we encourage you to continue to use that if you wish to. C.E. Banks, you have a wonderful day. Anna says, God bless you, watching from England. Thank you, Anna. And Mira is watching us as well. Philippines Tennis Club, she's giving them a big shout out. So yes, until we get, and even when we get consumer protection, we are here trying to be a voice of the people. These stories would never be heard. Think about it. Who else is telling these stories? Before we didn't hear them, we're kind of discussing it, but no media was getting involved in saying, listen, let's shine a light. We're shining a light on everything. Criminals, rogue contractors, rogue employees, rogue employers, bad doctors. We're going to be talking about the medical profession here coming up soon, because that's another hot mess. Everything that needs to be addressed in this community, that's what this platform is here for. This is your talk show, folks. Cayman Mall Road is about the people, about giving the people a voice, and that's what we're here for. So continue to tune in. We appreciate our sponsors. We do have more gift certificates coming, so log in. Make sure you're in tomorrow. We've got Popeyes, Burger King. We still have some Waffle Monkey gift certificates. Big shout out to Miracle Brokers. They are one of our premier sponsors on this platform. We appreciate their support so much. Thank you, Vicky. Diamond says, big up God, the truth being told. Yes, we must tell the truth, and we must try to stand by the truth as well. Dana, thank you so much as well. We've got many, many other things coming to you. We have a young lady who's found herself in an unconscionable position as it relates to her landlord. We're trying to get her on the program tomorrow. Believe me, this one is going to knock your socks off. Some of y'all just have no heart. You have no conscience. And you can't do people wrong and think that it's not going to be addressed on this platform. That's what we're here for, Bobo. We come in for you, each and every one of you. Until tomorrow, tune in at midday. We'll hear from Mr. The Honorable Wayne Panton. And until then, you guys have a beautiful day.
Thank you for tuning in to another edition of The Cold Hard Truth. Make sure to check Facebook for showtimes and more information and the latest news at CaymanMarlRoad.com. Subscribe to our IG and Facebook pages to get the latest happenings.